Hello, I'm Greg McMaster, former state representative for the 105th District in the state of Michigan, serving from 2010 to 2014. I am a Republican, and I teamed up with Bonnie Robbins, who's a registered Democrat. Our job, per the Michigan Secretary of State, was to perform an audit. This was in the Kearney Township office in the village of Bel Air of Antrim County. Overall, 20 individuals were selected to count, evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats. Upon entering the room, there were 10 tables set up for teams of 2 to do the count. Myself, being a Republican, teamed up with Bonnie Robbins, a registered Democrat, and a friend for over 40 years. We felt it best to minimize any problems and do the count as fairly as possible. So we selected ourselves as a Democrat and Republican. We did bring this up to the Bureau of Elections and thought it would be a good idea, but they said they didn't care. They just wanted the count to begin. We were at table number 10, and our first bag of secure ballots came from Chestonia Township, and the count was uneventful. The Bureau of Elections handed our second bag of secured ballots to count, this one from Central Lake. We didn't choose it. They gave it to us. And Central Lake has been at the core of controversy in the Antrim County and election process. Once we broke the seals with the Bureau of Elections in supervision, we removed 3 sealed packets of unused ballots. The other ones were loose, about 50 of them, and they were unwrapped, which we found peculiar, but why the unused ballots were in the same bag as the voting ballots remained unanswered. And it didn't really apply to what we were doing anyway. We stacked all the ballots, ready to count them all, and as we began counting, we noticed a handwritten signature on the bottom right for write-in candidate of Township Supervisor. As the count began, we started to accumulate them mentally in our mind. We know there's going to be a couple, could be a family, or it could be an assisted living. We kind of let that go. There's things like that will happen. When we passed 7, we decided to call in the Bureau of Elections and ask them what's going on, because we thought it was an irregularity. The person in charge of the audit seemed surprised, to say the least, and didn't have a clear answer of what we found, and she went back to her main desk with the other audit officials and then returned and then said, it's not uncommon for that to happen. It could just be a spoiled ballot that was duplicated, or someone helped with the voter writing in the candidate. Things like this happen. We even talked amongst ourselves that maybe somebody was voting and they can't write in a candidate. And there are people that are like that. What we found to be strange was that all of the circles were colored in perfectly. And if someone could not handwrite a signature, they would certainly have trouble trying to circle in the voting. That to us was a concern. So we inquired as to the validity of the ballots with the same handwriting, both cursive and printed, but the official became very curt and stated, your job is to not investigate, only to count. Here's the video.
Counts, because if we don't have the counts, then we can't move forward. And we understand that there is a concern with this precinct, but this is not a time for you to be investigating right now.
Did you
this
find
is a
something
time
else?
for you. No. So you need to move forward with the audit so we can get the numbers, so we can see how many ballots are here.
But wait, okay, so when we're done with the audit, there is still the opportunity to challenge the fact that we have multiple ballots with the very same signature.
I don't know if challenge is the right word, but until we
We're
get
challenging.
We'll go ahead and count the ballots.
right,
Keep going
we
forward.
need you to move forward.
But we will separate out and count those. When we pressed our concerns again about the potential for dozens of spoiled ballots being counted, the head of the Bureau of Elections overseeing the count shut us down and stated the ballots will be investigated at a later time and to continue counting. And add those
Okay.
in, but there's going to be an asterisk saying these ballots have the same thing.
And again, we know that you have a concern with this precinct, and as soon, when you get done with the audit part of it, not an investigation, not counting, that's not your role right now, this very minute. So what I need you to do is complete the audit so we can get a number of how many ballots were in this can when you started counting, and we can move forward from there. Okay, so what I need for you guys to do right now is to finish the
We'll have a
audit
number.
process.
We'll have a number.
We'll have a number. We can't-
Separate them out.
Whether valid or invalid, we'll have
That
a
is,
number.
that is not the process right now. The process right now is for you to put them in the piles where they belong and for the presidential vote and count the presidential votes. We understand that there is possibly an issue with this precinct. We understand that. But what I need for you to do right now is to finish the presidential race audit, not separate them out, and then we'll move forward from there, okay? But I need you to continue the process right now, please.
You realize that the former state representative has had issues with counting ballots that may be invalid.
I understand, but until we get a count, we need that piece done first. We need the audit piece done first because that's why we're here. And we will look at the numbers, okay? And I understand that there may be an issue. And I understand your concerns. So if we can complete the audit piece right now,
Okay.
then we can move forward, okay? Thank you.
To track the number of ballots with similar signatures, Bonnie and I decided to feather the ballots in the stack that showed similar printed and handwritten signatures, and moved on to counting the ballots. We tried to do it as discreetly as possible as to not throw off any flags that we were still investigating. We also noticed that none of these ballots had the letters DUP for duplicate anywhere on the ballot. While we were counting, we were closely guarded by some of the officials. In the end, we found 62 ballots in the Biden pile, 68 ballots in the Trump pile, and the 3 remaining presidential candidates, there was only 3. And it had the same cursive and printed signatures. Now, there were other ones that we didn't put in that feathered pile because you can tell the handwriting was significantly different. So we let those go and did not count those as irregularities. After we counted them with Biden 62, Trump 68, we realized that it didn't lean one way or the other towards a political candidate. Now, in my opinion, ballot harvesting is a form of fraud. After the count, the head of the audit of the Bureau of Elections assured us that they are now aware, saying, "It is noted, we know that there are issues with this township, and that we will do the investigation later." The ballots were then returned, with the blank ballots, mind you, into the secure bag with the Bureau of Elections officials watching over us to maintain the chain of custody. The Bureau of Elections did ask if we wanted to file a criminal complaint, since an officer was present. We held back and decided it wasn't the right time since we were charged with counting only, and the Bureau of Elections said they would investigate later. In retrospect, after the Secretary of State released her press release within a few hours about the accuracy and the security of the count, with no mention of the incident that took place, nor the possibility of investigating it, further undermines the security and integrity of our election process. The Secretary of State, to us, was more interested in quantity than quality. The count in one township brought so many irregularities that they can't be dismissed. But that's exactly what happened on December 18th in Kearney Township.
The tag.
The tags, yeah.
But these are actual ballots,
These are ballots. These are
and they're
ballots.
all in the spoiled ballot bag.
Ballot bag.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's what this was mine.
There you go.
Anyone with integrity and a moral compass, doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, would see that this was not a secure election in Antrim County, Michigan. And if this can happen here, it can happen anywhere. Think about it. When would someone have access to your ballot and write in a candidate, maybe an absentee ballot, and about a third of the ballots had creases from stuffing it in an envelope? Many were not creased. Human error did not cause this. This undermines the integrity and security of our election process. People, we have a systemic problem within our election process, and it needs to be corrected.